So I want to apologize because when I did the David Fincher video, my microphone I was not using my actual microphone, but I don't want to redo it because I sat there for over 30 minutes and I feel like it's a good video. So I hope you can forgive me for that. But there was one thing that I wanted to show you guys before we actually start this video, just to show you guys sort of how biased I am when it comes to Fincher. I have this little thing that I made for my wall. It's got the Interstellar IMAX film reel, or maybe it's not IMAX, maybe it's just whatever. My Chicago International Film Festival thing. Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward, not Worth. And I got David Fincher right there. So, yeah. Yeah, excuse this mess. We're moving. This will be my new office area, getting that set up right now. But thought I'd show you guys that and apologize for the audio stuff, but enjoy. So, if you're new to this channel, welcome. We're going to be talking about David Fincher today. This is a ranking video that I've been wanting to do for a little bit, and I kind of just want to talk about the guy because he's one of my favorite filmmakers ever. And I will be the first to admit that this ranking video is going to be biased. It's going to be extremely biased. There's no other way to put it. So let's go ahead. Let me sign into my good old letterbox. This is where I keep all my lists. It's a lot easier this way, I think. All right. Oh, there we go. Yeah, boy. Come on. Come on. I have so many lists on here. Oh my goodness me. There it is. Fincher rank. So we're going to be talking about 12 of David Fincher's films, but also before we get into the ranking, I just want to talk about David Fincher as a director, kind of what he means to me, and also a project that I want to talk about that he never ended up doing that I wish he would have, and then two projects that are rumored to be coming from David Fincher. So, but also I love David Fincher so much. I have this book. It's called Mind Games, and yeah, it basically includes every film from David Fincher except for his newest one, which is The Killer. And it's a good book. If you like David Fincher, definitely check this out. It's just a good book. Just a good book. Really can't explain it. But David Fincher, he's always been one of my favorite directors. Like, if I had to choose my top 5 favorite directors of all time, I mean, it'd probably be Stanley Kubrick. Number 2 would be Lars von Trier, and number 3 would be David Fincher, probably. Then everything gets blurry after that. Yeah, I don't know. I just got here. And I like how every single one of his films are very visually representative of kind of, I don't want to say who he is as a person, but it really is just every film that you watch from David Fincher looks like a David Fincher film. And I know that sounds stupid, but it's so true. Once you watch all of his films, you realize, yeah, this is what a David Fincher film looks like. And he usually does not write his own scripts. I don't think he ever does. He usually directs other screenplays, or he'll work with another writer, or come up with a story, or have another writer write a script for him, which I think is what happened with The Killer, if I'm not mistaken, because it was based off of a French comic book. So yeah, I love everything that the man does. He's cold, he's calculated, he's precise. Every single time that I go into a project, whether it's a short film or doing a feature or even a music video, I usually turn to David Fincher and I'll sort of, kind of view his works. And because I love how precise he is. And I think every filmmaker would want to get to that level where you could afford to do take after take after take. So yeah, I just think that everything that comes on the screen from David Fincher is just perfection. I know I'm just fangirling over him right now, or fanboying, but I'm sorry, I can't help it. I have green tea in my drinking thing today, so let me just take me a little drink. And the funny thing, David Fincher was the one that kind of inspired me to get into shooting music videos, because I've only directed 2 music videos before, with my 3rd coming up this summer. But I like it. There's just something about doing a music video that I don't know. I've kind of, it's definitely grown on me a lot. So yeah, it's honestly just seeing his earlier ones. Even kind of like with Jonathan Glazer with commercials and stuff. I did sort of get inspired a little bit by seeing his commercials, and also David Fincher has done commercials as well. So right now, I want to talk about the one project from David Fincher that we never got. And there's a few that we haven't gotten, but there's one in particular that I'm so upset that it was never made. And it is a film called Torso, and it's inspired by the Cleveland Torso murders. I'm not exactly sure what the film would entail in terms of the direction that Fincher would have taken the film and the story itself, because it has a very interesting narrative where just like Zodiac, it's based off of a real situation, real cases, real murders. But when it came to the Torso killings and the Zodiac killer, plot twist, they never found out who did it. I mean, they had pretty good leads and some pretty convincing suspects, but they never found out who it was. And I think David Fincher really is the perfect director to sort of look through that lens, because, like I said, when you look at his films, he doesn't really write the script. He usually directs another script. So he kind of looks at that script from an unbiased perspective and puts his own spin on it. Just like with the cases, when you're a victim of the something like that, like from the families or whatever, you're going to look at it at a different lens than, say, a police detective, or say somebody that's just interested in the subject matter to begin with. Everybody's going to have sort of a different POV on the certain subject matter. So I think with David Fincher doing something like that, just like he did Zodiac, you sort of get to look at it almost like this fly on the wall way, which for Zodiac, it was almost like you were a spectator in this world, and there was nothing that you could do. And there's very few films that sort of, make me feel that way, because usually, I'm watching it and I'm like, okay, well, I know what's going to happen. That's that. But with Zodiac, the way that it was executed, even though I knew the story of the Zodiac killer, I wasn't sure what was going to happen, after every scene. And it's very impressive. And I really wish that we would have got that Torso film from David Fincher. But we didn't. You never know. He might do it. I think it sounds really interesting. Let me do it. And then the two projects that are rumored to be coming from David Fincher, which I find this to be very interesting. So apparently his next film is going to be, I think it's either called Strangers or The Strangers. It's based off of Strangers on a Train, but I think this time it's going to be Strangers on a Plane, with a modern day twist. So it's going to be a remake of the Alfred Hitchcock film Strangers on a Train, but it's not really. I mean, it's going to be a very similar premise. I mean, you could even argue too that Strangers on a Train, the whole idea is just not really that original to begin with. So I don't think that somebody remaking it in their own way is a make or break it, because I remember when that was announced, there were people that was like, oh no, this is fucking horrible. Oh my gosh, why you got to remake a classic? And to that I say, well, David Fincher's not going to do what David Fincher does unless David Fincher really wants to do it, So I'm very excited to see that, and I would love to see David Fincher work with Mads Mikkelsen. Oh my gosh, that would be so fucking cool. But another rumored project that he has in the works is Squid Games, and I'm not sure if it is another miniseries. I'm not sure if it's what exactly it is, or if it's even going to happen. But I really hope it's something that's like a 2.5 hour long, spin on Squid Games from David Fincher. I hope it we don't need a remake of the Squid Games miniseries or TV show. What I would love to see is just a film from David Fincher, his point of view on it. That'd be so cool. I am so ready for that if that's the case. I would love for him to do it, actually. It'd be so badass. And that's just kind of me talking about David Fincher a little bit. And we're going to do a ranking for his films. Debated on when I was going to do this because I wasn't exactly sure. I wanted to get some more rewatches in and stuff, which I've rewatched, most of his films. There's really only one film I think that I've not rewatched recently, or watched recently. This is a pretty set in stone list, and I would say we're probably not going to get another David Fincher film for a couple of years. So this should be able to hold up, and I'll do an updated one later on. Maybe I'll do an even better David Fincher video. But let's go ahead and talk about it. So coming in at number 12, we have his directorial debut, Alien 3. Now, there's not much to say about this film other than there was a lot of studio interference. There was a lot of things going on behind the scenes. I think Sigourney Weaver, she had some certain stipulations of things that she wanted to do and what she did not want to do. And the film basically got cut up in the editing room. And David Fincher has basically all but disowned this film. So I'm not going to talk about it too much. I even hesitated putting it on this list because I think you do kind of got to respect a director when they say, hey, I've kind of disowned this movie. It's not me. You can say, yes, well, you did make it. But at the same time, if it's not them and they don't want to claim it, I kind of understand that. You know, I do. I understand that a lot, actually. So, yeah, but Alien 3 is not a bad film. I just think it's very, I guess you could say, muddled. And you can blame the studio system, but I mean, there's also, I'm sure, a lot of things that were going on in that film in particular, especially coming off of Alien and Aliens, you know. And I find it funny that every director that's done an Alien film has kind of just been a good, well-known, established director. It's not like they just pick somebody off the streets to do one. So, and I love the IP of Alien. I'll see any Alien film that comes out. But yeah, it sucks. You know, it is what it is. And usually this is like the bottom of people's Aliens list, which I find to be kind of insane, kind of crazy, to be honest, because I don't think it's like a horrible film. But yeah, that's Alien 3 for you. If I'm going to do all this talking, I need to take me another sip of my green tea. Coming in at number 11, we have Mank. Mank is about the screenwriter of Citizen Kane. He's bedridden and he's writing the script for Citizen Kane, and you sort of get to see that whole process and how it happens. And it's a very stylized film, even pretty different for David Fincher. It's black and white. It looks like it was shot in the 30s. And while I do enjoy the film, and it was written by his late father, there's just something about it where it seems extremely unmarketable, especially for David Fincher. Like, it even sort of makes me wonder if David Fincher's name is the marketable one. Because, you know, some people will go see a film because, you know, Christopher Nolan made it, or Tarantino made it, or Damien Chazelle made it, or Lars von Trier made it, etc. Excuse me. But to the general audience, most people don't care about the director. And that pains me to say as somebody who is a director. It just, cinephiles are usually the ones that love the directors. When it comes to like the general population, they really just care about who's in the film. And the thing about Mank is, you would think with it being a David Fincher film, a lot of people would probably want to watch this. But it's such a niche subject matter where, yeah, Citizen Kane, I mean, everybody's seen it, basically. I mean, if you like movies, you've seen Citizen Kane. And it's regarded as like one of the greatest films ever made, if not the greatest film ever made. I don't think it's the greatest film ever made, although it is a good film. I really do enjoy it. I think it is a good film. But to make something as simple as the screenwriter of Citizen Kane and calling it Mank, it's... I don't know. It did really good at awards season. I mean, it got nominated for a lot of awards. I think it might be David Fincher's most nominated film. But I honestly just didn't really care too much for it. Like, I more so just appreciated it more than I liked it. But I'm happy that he got to do it because it seems like it's been a passion project for him for a while. And he maybe knew that there wasn't going to be a lot of stuff to come out of it, but yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time with it. I would love to revisit it. I would love for Netflix to release these David Fincher Netflix films, or Criterion to release these Netflix films from David Fincher, because why not, honestly. Coming in at number 10, we have The Game. Now, when I first saw The Game is something that the first time you watch it, it's a trawling mystery. And then the second time you watch it, it's a comedy. So it is, and it's crazy to say that, but you just have to watch it. And I'm actually, for that reason, not going to talk about this film too much, because I think it would have been a lot higher on this list if it was more iconic and more memorable. But for me, it just, after you watch it one time, there's not really much room for, rewatches, like to discover new things and have like a newfound appreciation on certain stuff that's a part of the film. But yeah, and don't get me wrong, it is a great film, and I would probably put it higher up for a first time watch. But yeah, this is just kind of where I got it at number 10. I know it seems low, but technically every film now that we're talking about is like really, really good. And then I would argue that the six films going up are masterpieces, and I would probably, yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Coming in at number nine, this is going to be a little bit controversial, but coming in at number nine is Fight Club. Now, I like Fight Club. I just noticed that I've sort of grown a little bit distant to Fight Club the more that I've watched it. I rewatched it not long ago. I revisited the film. And, Edward Norton's great, Brad Pitt's great. The cinematography it feels like almost it's the most Fincher film. It's got that very iconic ending, amazing soundtrack. There's just something about it that it doesn't necessarily hold up for me anymore, and I can't explain it. Like the first time that I watched it, I was like, oh, okay, this is good. I mean, it's good. And then I got really into David Fincher stuff because I watched it before I got into David Fincher like I am now. And then the more that I watched it, I was like, okay, this is really fucking good. Like this is a great film. And then now, I don't know, I just revisiting the film recently, there's something off about it. I can't really explain it, but it is a great film. We don't talk about Fight Club. A lot of iconic moments. I do think the film itself is somewhat predictable. Like I do feel like there's like half the people are not going to know what's going on, and then half the people are going to know what's going on. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I sort of knew what was going on there for a little bit. Coming in at number 8, we have The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Now, I know this would be at the bottom of a lot of people's list, but for me, I liked it because, for one, the atmosphere was stellar. It was very strong. It really reminded me a lot of a darker Forrest Gump in a way. Like, it was very much so structured, kind of like Forrest Gump. And it was just the perfect film, I think, for Fincher to do, because you look at his filmography and you look at how sort of obvious a lot of his statements and a lot of the stuff that appears in his film are. But The Curious Case of Benjamin Button is almost mellow to an extent. It's almost, you're watching David Fincher sort of operate in a more, I think, calm state. Which is something I really appreciated about it. Now, yeah, I know some people might complain about some of the digital effects that were used and the aging of those, and if they still hold up. And I think they do. I do think that The Curious Case of Benjamin Button is one of those films that it's better to watch it on DVD, I think, than like Blu-ray or 4K, which it's kind of crazy that there's not really any. I don't think there's any 4Ks for David Fincher's. I think David Fincher's work. I think Zodiac. Or not Zodiac, Seven might have one, and I heard that Zodiac is getting one soon, so I don't know. But yeah, the Curious Case of Benjamin Button is a great film, and Brad Pitt and Kate Blanchett, you wouldn't think that their chemistry would be so strong in the film, but it is. And it's such an interesting premise with somebody that basically ages backwards. I loved every second of it. I thought it was a great film. I don't understand why people, think that it's overrated. I think it's underrated, if I'm being completely honest. Coming in at number 7, we have Panic Room. Now, I have only seen this film one time, admittedly, and there's currently, I think, only a DVD out for it, which is what I have, but they also have a 4K apparently coming out soon, which I find it crazy that this is like the first 4K film of David Fincher's career that we're getting, or one of the first, which I know Mank and The Killer are in 4K on Netflix, so I guess I'm kind of stupid about that. Yeah, whatever, sorry. But I like Panic Room. It's very simple. I do enjoy the atmosphere of it and the mood, with the fall leaves outside, and then it's just this just simple premise inside of this house with a panic room, and these people break in, and there's a family trapped in the panic room, and Forrest Whitaker is great. Jared Leto is honestly really good in it too. Jodie Foster's great. I mean, I love Jodie Foster. She's one of my favorite actors. But yeah, I like Panic Room. I would love to revisit it. I probably will when the 4K comes out. But that's where I got it right now. Coming in at number 6, and I could see this going up on a rewatch because I recently kind of fell asleep to this movie not long ago. And I was so excited about this film whenever it came out. And it's The Killer. It's his newest film, The Killer. Now, I didn't realize that the first 20 minutes of this film, the sniper sequence, when How Soon Is Now plays from The Smiths, I didn't realize that whole sequence was like 20 minutes long. And the thing about The Killer that I've noticed is it's kind of like not necessarily an anthology film. It's not. But one thing that I've noticed about like some of my favorite films, like if you look at something like The Killer, or you look at something like The Shining, or Clockwork Orange, there's like a story that's it's separated by situations, almost like vignettes, kind of. And that's very much so what The Killer is like. Is it's almost like it's split up into different chapters, and it's different like little stories with this killer in different locations. It's almost like playing a video game in a way. It's cool. I like films that do that. Like I just imagine like The Killer being a video game, and then you got like this list of missions or whatever that you're going through. But The Killer was great. It's a hitman movie. What else can you say? I ended up watching La Samurai before I watched this. I feel like that would be a great double feature. You can definitely tell the inspiration from La Samurai from I don't want to say his name wrong. But yeah, and I thought the cinematography in this was great. You know, the one thing about The Killer that was interesting was there was a lot of handheld stuff compared to his other works, where there's usually a still camera and he keeps everything kind of locked. But I noticed sometimes the camera would go crazy, and there was a lot of handheld stuff. Kind of reminded me of that one shot of Zodiac where Brad Pitt's running near the electrical structures are, or whatever. So David Fincher usually doesn't go handheld, but when he does, I feel like there's a reason. But The Killer, great film. I really want this to get picked up by a boutique label or come out on Blu-ray. Really want it. Want that 4K. Ugh, give it to me. Coming in at number 5 is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. So apparently this was going to be a trilogy, and this, from what it seemed like this was going to be David Fincher's kind of like Dark Knight trilogy, where this was going to be the trilogy of films in his career. Because, some directors have that trilogy, like Francis Ford Coppola's got the Godfather trilogy. Peter Jackson's basically a trilogy. Or you have like these unofficial trilogies, But I would have loved to have seen 2 more of these films with The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I know I was listening to the production of those films, and apparently it was a very rough ride for everybody, and it probably will never happen. I think it's safe to say it will never happen, and it's kind of crazy to think that there was a good chance it probably wouldn't have happened, even if it should have happened. It's just, there's a lot of different moving parts to it, but I really love The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo because, again, one, the atmosphere, the tone, the feel of the film. It's a very cold film. It's one of the coldest films I've ever seen. And it just, oh my gosh, the scene with Stellan Skarsgård is just so good. Let me click on this real quick. If you watch this film on, I think Tubi, if you end up watching it on Tubi, I think it's Tubi, it's in 16:9 and not its 2:1 aspect ratio. So I would definitely recommend, kind of watching it the way that it's supposed to be watched. But yeah, Rooney Mara is great. Daniel Craig is, of course, fantastic in anything that he's in. Christopher Plummer as well. It just, talking about it right now makes me just want to watch it again. I love Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. It's such a good film, cold film, but and dark too. But yeah, I really enjoy it. Coming up at number 4, we have Seven. Now, this is with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. I really can't think of a better dynamic duo. And it's basically about 2 homicide detectives that are looking for a killer that's doing his killings based off of the 7 Deadly Sins. Nothing more that I can really say about the film. It is just fantastic. It was, I'm glad that he got to do that after Alien 3, because I feel like if it wasn't for 7, his career could have looked extremely different. And that would have not have been good, because we got all these beautiful David Fincher films, that came out. But yeah, I just enjoyed it a lot. And the ending of it, if you've never seen the film before, you definitely should go in blind. But, it's good. Go in as blind as you can. And also Kevin Spacey's great in it too. I know there's been a lot of stuff going on with him, but it's a great performance. It's such a good film. Definitely check it out. Coming in at number 3, we have Zodiac with Jake Gyllenhaal, Mark Ruffalo, Anthony Edwards, Robert Downey Jr., John Carroll Lynch, Philip Baker Hall. Wow, okay. Not remember that. And this is a true story on the Zodiac Killer, another serial killer movie. I would love to see David Fincher do Torso, because then you could sort of say his unofficial trilogy is the serial killer trilogy with like Zodiac, Seven and Torso, if he did do Torso. So that'd be really cool. And he also did Mindhunter. Well, he was an executive producer and directed a few episodes. I've not seen House of Cards, but yeah, so he's definitely really into that whole true crime serial killer thing. But Zodiac is phenomenal. Some of the best performances you're going to see in David Fincher's filmography. And there's that one tense scene in the basement that a lot of people know of. So yeah, Zodiac's just absolutely phenomenal. Such a good film. Love it so much. Would look good on 4K, I think. Although I don't know, because they did a lot of like computer generated stuff, and be interesting to see how that holds up, because a lot of people don't realize that Zodiac came out almost 20 years ago, which is wild. Coming in at number 2, The Social Network. This is probably one of the greatest films to come out in the 21st century. It is basically a biopic about Mark Zuckerberg, with Facebook and the rivalries that came between that. He worked with Rooney Mara again, I believe. I think he did. Pretty sure he did. But it's also got Armie Hammer twice in it. Andrew Garfield, Jesse Eisenberg, Justin Timberlake. I like Justin Timberlake as an actor. I do, and I have no regrets for it whatsoever. But yeah, you talk about like The Social Network is almost like the quintessential David Fincher film. I would almost say this is the one everybody loves. This film. Older people think it's sophisticated. You know, younger people think that it's edgy. You know, it's just such a good film. It's got so many things going for it. I really wish that David Fincher would have won an Oscar for The Social Network. He probably should have. Find it crazy that he's never won really anything, which is insane, because I do think he is the best director working today, most likely. I know that's an opinion. That's an opinion. I'm sorry. But I love it so much. It's such a good film. Such a good movie. Oh my goodness. And coming in at number 1, my favorite David Fincher film. You've guessed it, Gone Girl. Based off of the novel. Basically, it's about a woman that disappears, and her husband is getting blamed for her disappearance. And you sort of got to see how he interacts with that, and then you sort of get to see what she's doing. And yeah, it's just it's good. It's just really good. I don't want to say anything else. Actually, I'm going to cut that part out, because I'm pretty sure everybody has seen this film. Like, I'm pretty sure that this is a pretty universally loved movie. Based off, it's got 2.7 million members on Letterboxd. It's on 300,000 lists, and it's liked by almost 1 million people. Like, I'm pretty sure everybody's seen this, but if you haven't, it's another film to go in blind. But I love it. It is just David Fincher firing at all cylinders. It is a perfect film. It is instantly rewatchable for me. Like, I can watch this film over and over and over again, and I have enjoyed my time ever since. It's funny, because the first time that I watched this, which I'm married now and I have a kid, but when I was in high school, this is whenever this film came out. It came out I think I was a sophomore in high school when this film came out. But I watched it with my ex-girlfriend, and I was like, "Oh, Gone Girl, I don't want to watch this. Like, this is stupid." And then I ended up loving it. So, and the cast for this is also really, really good. You know, you got Ben Affleck, Rosamund Pike, Neil Patrick Harris, Tyler Perry. Such a good movie. And guys, that is it. We have hit the end of our David Fincher ranking video. That was a long video, 30 minutes long. Wow. Okay. Well, I finished it. I'm happy. It's over. It's done. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this ranking. Let me know your rankings down in the comments below. Let's be nice. We all got opinions. Also, I am going to have Pesadilla news soon for my feature film Pesadilla. You guys are going to be able to watch it soon, I hope. And it is, hopefully, you are going to be able to hold it as well. So things are working out, I think. And I can't wait to tell you guys more. It's so cool, so crazy. I can't wait to share more. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a thumbs up and maybe subscribe. Stay safe out there. Check out my links down in the description below. You can check out my Instagram account. You can check out my Letterboxd, my teaser trailers, and shorts and stuff. Definitely check out my short film, The Interview. Everything that I make, you can log on Letterboxd. So definitely do so. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed. See you next time.